Most men learn their wife's cheating from a lipstick stain or a suspicious text message. Me? I got a VIP gala photo and a voicemail that would make a tabloid editor weep with joy. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Adam Kingman, and I'm 39 years old with enough scars from Afghanistan to remind me daily that life's unfair. These days, I run a small security consulting firm in Baltimore, helping paranoid executives sleep better at night. It pays the bills and keeps me busy enough to ignore the fact that my marriage has been circling the drain for months. The photo arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under my office door like a final verdict. There was my wife, Olivia, radiant in her black cocktail dress, wrapped around some pretty boy I'd never seen before. His hand was planted firmly on her ass, and she was gazing at him like he'd just invented oxygen. The timestamp showed last Saturday night, the same evening she'd told me she was working late on the Henderson charity event. I stared at the photo for a solid 5 minutes, my coffee growing cold. The guy looked like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, the kind of cocky smile that screamed, "Trust fund, baby," everything I wasn't. My phone buzzed. Voicemail from Olivia. "Adam, honey, I know you've probably seen the photo by now. Look, this is awkward, but I need you to understand something. Tom and we're in love. Real love. Not whatever this boring arrangement we've had for the past few years has been. I'm filing for divorce, and Tom's friends are the best lawyers in town. You'll get nothing. But honestly, what did you ever really contribute anyway? Your little security business? Please." Tom owns a boutique firm that handles Fortune 500 companies. He's everything you're not. Successful, connected, ambitious. Oh, and the closeness is incredible. Just thought you should know. The voicemail ended with her laughing. I played it 3 more times, each replay stoking the fire in my chest. By the 4th listen, I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. "Adam, I hope you're not calling to beg." "You have 24 hours to change your mind and apologize," I said, my voice steady as steel. She laughed again, that same tinkling sound from the voicemail. "Or what? You'll cry into your beer? Face it, Adam. You're a has-been soldier playing security guard. I'm upgrading to first class." 24 hours, Olivia. I hung up and immediately dialed Colonel Dutch DeLay, my former commanding officer who now ran a nonprofit for veterans. If I was going to war, I needed my old squad. "Dutch, it's Adam. I need a favor." "What kind of favor?" His gravelly voice carried the weight of 1,000 missions. The kind that requires surgical precision and 0 collateral damage. He chuckled. "Legal or illegal?" "Completely legal, but devastating." "I'm listening." Within 2 hours, my war room was assembled. Dutch arrived first, followed by Kenna Mallory, a private investigator who'd served 3 tours in Iraq before trading her rifle for a camera. Finally, Elliot Griggs showed up, a criminal defense attorney who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else but had never turned down a challenge. "So," Dutch said, settling into a chair across from my desk, "your wife's cheating with some rich boy, and she thinks she's got you outgunned." That's the situation. Kenna pulled out her laptop. "What's Pretty Boy's full name?" "Tom Beale, runs some boutique security firm." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "Thomas Andrew Beale, 31, owns Beale Strategic Solutions." Interesting. His client list includes 3 companies that regularly hire event planners. She looked up. "Want to bet he's been feeding your wife insider information for contract bids?" Elliot leaned forward. "That would be fraud. Industrial espionage at minimum." "Keep digging," I said. "What else?" "Give me an hour," Kenna said. "But I'm already seeing some interesting credit card activity. Your wife's been busy." My phone rang. Olivia again. "Having second thoughts?" she asked without preamble. Are you? God, no. Tom's taking me to Cabo next weekend. First class, naturally. Something you could never afford. Enjoy the trip. We will. Oh, and Adam? I'm moving out tomorrow. Tom's sending movers, don't try to stop them. The line went silent. Dutch raised an eyebrow. She's moving fast. Too fast, Elliot agreed. Smells like asset concealment to me. I smiled for the first time in hours. Then we'd better move faster. By 8 p.m., Kenna had assembled a digital dossier that would make the NSA proud. Tom Beale wasn't just my wife's lover. He was her business partner in a very profitable side hustle. Look at this, Kenna said, turning her laptop screen toward us. Your wife's company credit card shows charges at the Marriott downtown every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 3 months. Always the same suite, always billed as client meetings. But here's the kicker. Tom's business account shows payments to Olivia's company for consulting services that coincidentally match her biggest contract wins. Dutch whistled low. She's been selling information. Gets better, Kenna continued. Tom's been using those same hotel stays to wine and dine clients from companies that were bidding against Olivia's firm. Guess who always won those bids? Elliot was already taking notes. That's conspiracy to commit fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and about 6 other charges I can think of off the top of my head. What about their assets? I asked. Already on it, Elliot said. I've prepared emergency injunctions to freeze all joint accounts pending investigation. I can file first thing tomorrow morning. By the time she tries to access your money, it'll be locked down tighter than Fort Knox. I felt the familiar calm that used to settle over me before a mission. Every piece was falling into place. Kenna, I need you to tail them tomorrow. Document everything. Where they go, what they do, who they meet with. Get photos, timestamps, the works. Already planned on it. Dutch, can you reach out to your contacts at the Better Business Bureau? I have a feeling Tom's company might not be as clean as it appears. Consider it done. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Movers coming at 9 a.m. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I showed the message to the group. Perfect, Elliot said. Let her take whatever she wants. We'll get it all back, and then some. The next morning, I watched from my office window as a moving truck pulled up to our townhouse. Olivia directed the movers with the efficiency of a general, pointing at furniture and artwork like she was claiming territory. Tom stood beside her, his arm around her waist, occasionally kissing her neck. If they thought they were putting on a show for my benefit, they were right, but not in the way they intended. My phone rang. Kenna. They just loaded a safe into the truck, she reported from her surveillance position across the street. Want to bet it contains documents you've never seen? How much you want to bet those documents include client lists from her company? No bet. I'm not stupid. At 10:15 a.m., Elliot called. Injunctions are filed and approved. All accounts are frozen as of now. Also, I may have mentioned to a friend at the IRS that there might be some unreported income worth investigating. How long before they find out? Olivia will probably try to access money for their Cabo trip this afternoon. Tom might not find out until his business account gets flagged, which should be right about now. As if on cue, my phone exploded with calls from Olivia. I let them all go to voicemail. The first message was confusion. Adam, there's something wrong with our bank accounts. Call me. The second was irritation. This is ridiculous. Fix whatever you did. By the fifth message, she was furious. You snake, I know this is you. Tom's accounts are frozen too. What did you do? I called her back. Having problems? I asked. Unfreeze the accounts, Adam, now. I can't do that. It's a court order pending investigation into fraudulent activity. Silence. Then, what investigation? The one into how you and Tom have been running a little insider trading scheme. Industrial espionage is a federal crime, Olivia. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, bank transfers, client communications. It's all very well documented. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What do you want? An apology would be nice, but I think it's too late for that. I hung up and immediately called Dutch. Phase 2? He asked. Phase 2. Tom Beale drove a silver Porsche 911 that probably cost more than I made in 2 years. I knew this because Kenna had been following him for 3 days, documenting his every move. She'd also discovered that he parked in the same spot every morning at the downtown garage near his office, level 3, northeast corner, away from other cars to avoid door dings. Guys like Tom were predictable in their vanity. I positioned my beat-up Ford pickup truck to block his exit Wednesday morning, then waited. At 7:45 a.m. sharp, the Porsche's engine echoed through the concrete structure. Tom appeared 2 minutes later, designer coffee in hand, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine ad. He stopped short when he saw my truck. "Excuse me?" he called out, his voice carrying that entitled tone I'd expected. "You're blocking my car." I got out slowly, taking my time. Tom was smaller than he'd looked in photos, maybe 5'9" in expensive shoes, with the soft build of someone who paid for a gym membership, but rarely used it. "You must be Tom," I said, walking toward him. His face went pale. "You're Adam." "That's right. We need to talk." He glanced around the empty garage, probably looking for security cameras or witnesses. There were cameras, but I'd already checked their blind spots. "Look, man, I know this is awkward." I moved faster than he expected, closing the distance between us in 2 steps. My hand shot out and slapped his side mirror clean off. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "Jesus!" Tom stumbled backward, spilling coffee down his shirt. "That's for the voicemail," I said calmly. Before he could react, I grabbed his shirt and shoved him against his car. Not hard enough to hurt him, but firm enough to make my point. His coffee cup clattered to the ground. "This is just the beginning, Tommy. Tell Olivia her 24 hours are up." His eyes were wide, pupils dilated with fear. "You're crazy. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. Tell them how you've been committing fraud with my wife. I'm sure they'll be very interested." I released him and stepped back. He fumbled for his phone with shaking hands. "You have no idea who you're messing with," he said, trying to regain some composure. "I have connections, lawyers, people who can destroy you." I laughed. "Tommy, I've been shot at by people who actually knew how to eliminate me. You think I'm scared of your lawyers?" I walked back to my truck and moved it just enough for him to squeeze out. As he drove away, I noticed he forgot to pick up his broken mirror. That afternoon, Kenna called with an update. "Tom's been making calls all day. Looks like he's trying to find out exactly what evidence you have. Also, his business partner showed up at the office looking worried." "What about Olivia?" "She's been at her office for 6 hours straight. Word is her boss wants to see her first thing tomorrow morning." Perfect timing. I'd spent the morning crafting a detailed report about Olivia's activities, complete with hotel receipts, bank records, and a timeline of her company's suspicious contract wins. The report went to her boss, the company's board of directors, and their biggest clients. By 5 p.m., Olivia was calling me every 10 minutes. "Adam, please, we need to talk, face to face." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Meet me at Café Luna at 7. Café Luna was a trendy spot downtown where Olivia liked to be seen. Public enough that she'd feel safe, but intimate enough for a private conversation. I arrived early and chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. Olivia walked in at exactly 7, looking like she hadn't slept. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing jeans instead of her typical designer outfits. She sat down across from me without ordering anything. "You have to stop this," she said immediately. "Stop what?" "Don't play dumb. My boss put me on administrative leave pending investigation. Tom's business partner is threatening to dissolve their company. Our accounts are still frozen. Sounds like the system is working." She leaned forward, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman I'd married 10 years ago. "Adam, I made a mistake. I was angry, frustrated with where we were. Tom made me feel special. Special enough to commit fraud? Her composure cracked. It wasn't supposed to be fraud. It started as just information sharing. Tom would mention which companies were bidding on projects, and I'd make sure we submitted competitive proposals, using insider information. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, Olivia. You sold out your company and your integrity for what? Good closeness and expensive dinners? Tears started forming in her eyes. I want to fix this. We can fix this. No, we can't. I stood up to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Please, Adam. I'll do anything. I'll leave Tom. We can go to counseling. I'll make this right. For just a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You should have thought about that before you left me that voicemail. I walked away, leaving her crying at the table. Tom lived in a converted warehouse loft in Fells Point, the kind of place that screamed, I have more money than taste. Getting inside was easier than it should have been for someone who supposedly ran a security company. His building's keypad lock was the same model I'd installed for a client last year, and I still had the master override codes. I waited until Thursday night when Kenna confirmed both he and Olivia were at some charity function across town, then let myself in. The place was exactly what I'd expected. Exposed brick walls, industrial lighting, furniture that looked expensive but uncomfortable. A bachelor pad designed to impress 20-something women. I wasn't there to steal anything or cause permanent damage. This was about sending a message. First, I rearranged all his furniture by exactly 6 inches. Not enough to be immediately obvious, but enough that he'd keep bumping into things and feeling like something was wrong. Then I went to work on his kitchen, switching the contents of every cabinet and drawer. His coffee would now be where he kept his plates, his silverware mixed in with his cooking utensils. The master bedroom was where I left my signature touch. I removed the filter from his central air conditioning unit and filled it with fish heads I'd bought from the harbor market. The smell wouldn't be noticeable immediately, but by Saturday morning, his entire loft would reek like a fishing boat in August. Finally, I placed a single .45 caliber bullet on his pillow. Not a threat, just a reminder that I had skills he couldn't imagine. I was out of there in 45 minutes, leaving no trace except the chaos he'd discover over the next few days. Friday morning brought the phone calls I'd been expecting. What the hell did you do to my apartment? Tom's voice was shaking with rage. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. Someone broke in and what, Tommy? Stole something? Broke something? Hurt someone? Silence. Maybe you should call the police, I suggested. Tell them someone rearranged your furniture and left you a present. I'm sure they'll make it a top priority. This is harassment. This is just getting started. I hung up and immediately called Kenna. How did the charity event go last night? Interesting. Olivia spent most of the evening on her phone, probably dealing with work drama. Tom looked like he was trying to network, but people kept avoiding him, words getting around about the investigation. Good. What's on their schedule for today? Tom's supposed to meet with his business partner at 2. Olivia's been summoned to another meeting with her boss. Perfect. At 1:55 p.m., I was sitting in the lobby of Tom's office building when his partner, a nervous-looking man in his 50s, rushed past me toward the elevators. 5 minutes later, raised voices echoed from the 20th floor. Kenna texted me updates. Partner's leaving. Looks pissed. Tom's still up there. At 3:30, Tom emerged from the elevator looking like he'd been hit by a truck. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his tie was crooked, and he was carrying a cardboard box. I followed him to the parking garage. Rough day? I asked as he fumbled with his car keys. He spun around, eyes wild. Stay away from me. Or what? You'll call your business partner? Oh, wait, I heard he dissolved the company today. Something about not wanting to be associated with fraudulent activities. Tom's hands were shaking as he tried to unlock his car. You've destroyed everything. No, Tommy. You destroyed everything when you decided to screw my wife and steal from her company. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. He finally got his car door open and threw the box inside. This isn't over. You're right, it's not. That evening, Olivia called. Tom's been fired, she said without preamble. I heard. Tough break. His partner says he can't afford to be associated with the investigation. Tom's lost everything. What about you? I've been terminated, effective immediately. They're considering criminal charges. For the first time since this started, she sounded truly broken. Adam, please. We need to talk. Really talk. Not in some public place where we can't be honest with each other. Where? Your office. Tonight, just us. I almost said no. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. 9 o'clock. Come alone. She arrived exactly on time, looking worse than I'd ever seen her. No makeup, wrinkled clothes, eyes red from crying. This wasn't the confident woman who'd left me that mocking voicemail. Thank you for seeing me, she said, settling into the chair across from my desk. Talk. I know you hate me right now. I don't hate you, Olivia. Hate requires passion. What I feel for you now is indifference. She flinched, like I'd slapped her. That's worse. Is it? She took a shaky breath. I want to make this right. I know I can't undo what I did, but maybe we can find a way forward. What kind of way forward? She stood up and walked around my desk, her hand reaching for my face. We were good together once. We could be good again. I caught her wrist before she could touch me. Sit down. Adam, sit. Down. She returned to her chair, tears streaming down her face. You think you can seduce your way out of this? I asked. Bat your eyes, and suddenly I'll forget about Tom, about the fraud, about that voicemail where you laughed at me. I was angry. People say things when they're angry. No, Olivia, angry people say hurtful things. Cruel people say what you said. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a document. This is a settlement agreement. You sign it, and I'll consider not pressing charges for the money you stole from our joint accounts. She read through it quickly, her face growing paler with each page. This gives you everything. The house, the cars, my jewelry, even my retirement account. That's right. I'll have nothing. You'll have Tom. Isn't that what you wanted? She looked up at me with something that might have been hope. If I sign this, will you call off your investigation? Make this all go away? I smiled. I can't do that. The federal investigation is out of my hands now, but I won't pursue civil damages against you personally. That's not enough. It's all I'm offering. She stared at the document for a long time, then slowly picked up a pen. I loved you once, she said as she signed her name. I know. That's what makes this so much worse. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, staring at the signed settlement. Phase 3 was about to begin, and it would be the most public yet. The emergency court hearing was scheduled for Monday morning at 9 a.m. Elliot had worked over the weekend to prepare our case, assembling evidence that read like a crime novel: bank records, hotel receipts, email communications, phone logs, everything needed to prove that Olivia and Tom had been running a sophisticated fraud operation. I arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early and wasn't surprised to find Tom already there with his lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman who looked like she charged $1,000 an hour. Olivia sat beside them, wearing a conservative blue dress that was probably meant to make her look sympathetic. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Morrison. Judge Morrison was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who'd built her reputation on cutting through legal bullshit. She reviewed our filings while the courtroom waited in silence. This is quite an extensive collection of evidence, she said finally. Mr. Griggs, please present your case. Elliot stood and launched into a methodical presentation that laid out every detail of the fraud scheme. Bank transfers, contract awards, hotel meetings. He connected each dot with surgical precision. Your Honor, the The defendants engaged in a systematic conspiracy to defraud multiple companies through the use of insider information. Mrs. Kingman used her position to access confidential bidding information, which she then shared with Mr. Beale in exchange for personal and financial benefits. Tom's lawyer tried to object several times, but Judge Morrison shut her down. "The evidence speaks for itself, counselor. Continue, Mr. Griggs." When Elliot finished, Tom's lawyer stood for their defense. It was painful to watch. She tried to paint Tom as a naive businessman who'd been manipulated by Olivia, while simultaneously arguing that Olivia was a scorned wife acting out of emotional distress. Judge Morrison wasn't buying it. "Mrs. Chen, your clients conducted their affair in hotel suites paid for with corporate credit cards while simultaneously engaging in bid rigging that cost legitimate companies millions of dollars. This isn't a romance novel. It's a criminal enterprise." The judge ruled in our favor on every point. All assets were to remain frozen pending criminal investigation, and both Tom and Olivia were prohibited from leaving the state. As we filed out of the courtroom, Tom cornered me in the hallway. "You think you've won?" he hissed. "This is just the beginning. I have friends, connections. I'll destroy you." "Get in line," I said. That evening, Tom tried to make good on his threat. He was scheduled to speak at a Chamber of Commerce networking event, one of those glad-handing affairs where local business leaders pretended to care about economic development while drinking overpriced wine. I'd been planning this moment for days. Kenna had helped me hack into the event's audio-visual system, giving me control over the presentation screens throughout the hotel ballroom. Tom's speech was scheduled for 8 p.m., right after dinner, when everyone would be paying attention. I waited until he was introduced and took the podium, then activated my surprise. The screens throughout the room suddenly displayed a slideshow I'd prepared. Text messages between Tom and Olivia discussing which companies to target. Hotel receipts showing their regular Tuesday and Thursday meetings. Bank records proving the money transfers. But the crown jewel was the audio recording I'd made of Tom bragging to a potential client about his inside connections in the events industry. The room went silent as Tom's voice filled the space. "Let's just say I have a very close relationship with someone who knows exactly what our competitors are bidding. We never lose a contract we really want." Tom frantically tried to shut off the presentation system, but I'd locked him out. The slideshow continued for 3 full minutes while 200 of Baltimore's business elite watched in stunned silence. When it finally ended, Tom was standing at the podium, looking like he wanted to disappear. The room remained quiet for several seconds before people started pulling out their phones, undoubtedly sharing what they'd just witnessed. I slipped out through a side exit, but not before seeing several people approach the event organizer, probably demanding answers about why they'd invited a fraud suspect to speak. By Tuesday morning, the story had spread throughout Baltimore's business community. Tom's remaining clients were canceling contracts, and Olivia's former colleagues were distancing themselves from the scandal. My phone rang at 10 a.m. Olivia. "That was cruel," she said. "That was justice. Tom's talking about suicide. He's lost everything. He should have thought about that before he decided to steal from his clients. What more do you want, Adam? We're both ruined. Isn't that enough?" "Not quite." "What does that mean?" "You'll find out." That night, I got a call from Kenna. "We have a problem. Tom's been drinking heavily and making threats. My sources say he's talking about coming after you directly." "Let him come." "Adam, I'm serious. He's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things." "Good. I'm counting on it." Tom made his move on Thursday night during a thunderstorm that turned Baltimore's streets into rivers. I was working late in my home office when the security system I'd installed after my return from Afghanistan started sending alerts to my phone. Motion detected at the back gate. Motion detected near the garage. Someone was trying to break in. I activated the house's defensive systems, something I'd designed but never expected to actually use. Floodlights illuminated the backyard, revealing Tom stumbling through my garden, soaked to the skin and carrying what looked like a crowbar. He was drunk. Very drunk. I opened the app that controlled my security cameras and started recording, then called Dutch. "It's happening," I said. "We're on our way." Tom reached the back door and started trying to pry it open. The reinforced steel frame wasn't budging, but he kept trying, cursing with each failed attempt. I activated the intercom system. "Hello, Tommy." He spun around, looking for the source of my voice. "I know you're in there, you bastard. Come out and face me like a man." "I'm right here. You're the one sneaking around in my backyard like a common criminal. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone found out about it." He threw the crowbar at one of my security cameras, missing by 3 feet. "I'm going to eliminate you." "That would be a mistake." Tom found a large rock and hurled it at my kitchen window. The reinforced glass spiderwebbed, but didn't break. "Bulletproof glass," I explained through the intercom. "Learn to appreciate it overseas." He was crying now, tears mixing with rain on his face. "Please just stop. I can't take any more." "Then you should leave." Instead, he picked up the crowbar again and headed for the garage, where my truck was parked. The garage door was steel, but the side entrance was just regular wood. I let him break in. The moment Tom stepped inside the garage, I activated the trap I'd prepared. The door slammed shut behind him, electronically locked. Emergency lighting bathed the space in red, and speakers hidden throughout the garage came to life with a recording I'd made earlier. "Welcome to my garage, Tommy. You're probably wondering why the door just locked behind you." Tom spun around, pulling frantically at the door handle. "Let me out. You wanted to confront me, so let's talk. You see, breaking and entering is a felony in Maryland, especially when you're carrying weapons and making serious threats." Smoke started pouring from vents near the ceiling, harmless theatrical fog, but Tom didn't know that. "What is this? What are you doing?" "I'm giving you a choice. You can stand there and wait for the police to arrive, or you can sit in that chair and listen to what I have to say." A single chair sat in the center of the garage, illuminated by a spotlight. Tom looked around desperately, searching for another exit. There wasn't one. "The smoke isn't toxic," I continued, "but it will get thicker. The chair is your safe zone." He stumbled to the chair and sat down heavily, still clutching the crowbar. "Drop the weapon." He let it clatter to the floor. "Good. Now let's have that conversation you wanted." I activated the garage's main lights and stepped through the door that connected to my kitchen. Tom's eyes were wide with fear and confusion. "You broke into my home," I said calmly. "Threatened to eliminate me. Attempted to destroy my property. All of it recorded by multiple cameras and witnessed by my security system." I was drunk. I wasn't thinking clearly. "No, you were thinking very clearly. You decided that since you couldn't beat me legally or financially, you'd try violence." Tom started crying again. "I loved her. I really loved her. You loved the idea of her, the excitement of stealing another man's wife, the thrill of getting away with fraud. You didn't love Olivia. You loved what she represented." "That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you called her? Since the court hearing, since your public humiliation, how much time have you spent comforting the woman you claim to love?" His silence was answer enough. "You're here because you're angry at me, not because you're heartbroken over her. You're angry that someone finally held you accountable for your actions." Red and blue lights flashed outside as police cars pulled into my driveway. "They're here," I said. "Last chance to do this the easy way." Tom looked defeated, all the fight drained out of him. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. You thought you were better than me, smarter, richer, more connected, but you forgot one important thing." "What's that?" "I'm a soldier, and soldiers always complete their mission." The garage door opened as Dutch arrived with 2 Baltimore police officers. Tom didn't resist as they handcuffed him. "Breaking and entering, Criminal trespass, attempted burglary, terroristic threatening, one of the officers recited. You're going to be our guest for a while, Mr. Beale. As they led Tom away, Olivia's car pulled up outside. She ran through the rain, reaching the garage just as the police car doors slammed shut. Adam, please, she called out. Don't let them take him. He's sick. He needs help, not jail. I walked to where she stood in my driveway, rain soaking through her clothes. Where were you tonight? I asked. What? When the man you claimed to love was having a breakdown, where were you? She looked away. I was at my sister's house. Hiding. I wasn't hiding. I was trying to figure out what to do next. You were hiding, I repeated. Just like you've been hiding from the consequences of your choices this entire time. Thunder crashed overhead as the police cars disappeared into the night. It's over, Olivia. Tom's going to prison. You'll probably join him once the federal investigation concludes. Your career is finished, your reputation is destroyed, and everyone you thought was a friend has abandoned you. She was sobbing now, completely broken. I told you that you had 24 hours to apologize and change your mind. You chose to mock me instead. You chose to steal from me, lie to me, and humiliate me. Every single thing that's happened since then has been a direct result of that choice. I turned to walk back into my house, then stopped. Oh, and Olivia? The closeness wasn't that great. I was faking it for years. Lightning illuminated the sky as I closed the door, leaving her standing alone in the storm. Through my kitchen window, I watched her collapse to her knees in my driveway, finally understanding that she'd lost everything. I poured myself a drink and sat in my living room, listening to the thunder fade into the distance. My phone buzzed with messages from Dutch and Kenna, checking to make sure I was okay. I was more than okay. I was victorious.